September 5th, 1944. A damp, cellar-like office at Chef headquarters, Granville, France. 20 p.m. The air is thick with stale tobacco smoke and the metallic smell of defeat. But the Allies are winning. Colonel Norm Stacy, a logistics officer for the 21st Army Group, hasn't slept in 2 days. He's staring at a map that is, in his own words, a logistical nightmare. The problem is speed. D-Day was in June. The breakout in Normandy, Operation Cobra, was a spectacular success. General Patton is racing across France. The British and Canadians have cleared the coast. It's a rout, and it is a disaster. The Allied armies, all 2 million of them, are outrunning their supplies. The Red Ball Express, the legendary convoy of trucks, driven day and night, is breaking down. They are running on fumes, literally. Tanks are stopping in the middle of roads. Their fuel tanks empty. Infantrymen are on half rations. Every single bullet, every tin of bully beef, every gallon of gasoline is still being landed on the mulberry harbors in Normandy, or through the shattered port of Cherbourg, hundreds of miles away. We are not being beaten by the Wehrmacht, Stacy mutters to his adjutant. We are being beaten by the map. Then, a teletype message clatters to life in the corner. The flimsy paper spools out. An aide tears it off and hands it to the colonel. Stacy reads it. He reads it again. A slow smile spreads across his exhausted face. "Gentlemen," he says, his voice cracking. "The 11th Armored, they've done it. They're in Antwerp. The room explodes. This is it. This is the miracle. Antwerp. It is not just a port. It is the port, the largest, most modern, deep-water port in all of Europe. And the message says it's intact. The Belgian resistance, the Vita Brigade, had risen up, fought the Germans in the streets, and prevented them from demolishing the critical locks and docks. On the map, it's perfect. It's the solution to everything. It's the key that unlocks the door to the Rhine, to Berlin, to the end of the war by Christmas. Field Marshal Montgomery, commanding the 21st Army Group, is elated. He makes a fateful, glory-seeking decision. Instead of consolidating, instead of clearing the approaches, he points his armor northeast, towards the Rhine, towards Operation Market Garden. He leaves the garbage job, the mopping up, to the 1st Canadian Army. September 15th, 1944. A wet, wind-swept command post near Bruges, Belgium. Lieutenant General Guy Simons, commander of the 1st Canadian Army, is a hard, unloved, brilliant man. He is looking at the same map as Colonel Stacy. He is not smiling. He sees the hollow prize. Antwerp is 50 miles inland. To get a single ship to its docks, you must sail up the Scheldt estuary, a wide, complex, treacherous body of water. And the estuary is not clear. The German 15th Army, under General Gustav Adolf von Zangen, was not routed, it was not destroyed, it was pushed back, and it has just completed a masterful, fighting withdrawal, pulling 80,000 men and thousands of vehicles across the Scheldt, from south to north. They have not run, they have dug in. They now occupy the cork in the bottle. To the south, they hold the Breskin's Pocket, a patch of land, fortified, flooded, and bristling with guns. To the north, they hold the South Beveland Peninsula and, most importantly, Walcheren Island. Walcheren is the final gatekeeper. It is a fortress, ringed with 200 Militum and 300 Minipus coastal batteries. Guns so large they can duel with battleships, and they command every inch of the 50-mile channel. No ship can pass, not one, as long as the Germans hold Walcheren and Breskens. Antwerp is just a dot on a map. It is completely, totally, impossibly useless. Simons reads the order from Montgomery. Clear the Scheldt estuary. He looks at his operations officer. He knows what this means. This is not a mopping up operation. The Germans have done something else. They have done something ancient, something that only the Dutch and the Germans in this part of the world understand. They have opened the sluice gates. They have breached the dikes. They have summoned the sea. The Breskens pocket is now a sea of mud. The fields of Welkeren are now lagoons of icy salt water. The only dry land is the tops of the dikes, which the Germans have pre-zeroed with their mortars and their MG-42s. This will not be a tank battle. This will not be a war of maneuver. This will be a watery hell. It will be a fight on foot, in the mud, in the rain, with bayonets and grenades. It will be a battle of attrition, fought in terrain that is a throwback to Passchendaele, 1917. And as Simons draws up the plans, another report lands on his desk. This one is not from logistics. It's from the Dutch government in exile. The Germans, in retaliation for a Dutch railway strike, have cut off all food shipments to the 5 million people in occupied Holland. No food, no fuel. A hunger winter is coming. If Antwerp does not open, the Allied armies will stall. If the Allied armies stall, Holland will not be liberated. And if Holland is not liberated, millions of civilians will starve to death. The fate of the war and the lives of 5 million people now rests on the shoulders of the 1st Canadian Army, and they are being ordered to attack the sea itself. October the 6th, 1944, 04:30 a.m. The north bank of the Leopold Canal. Belgium. The rain is a cold, relentless assault. It is not a drizzle. It is a downpour, a sheet of icy water that turns the already liquid mud of the dike into a treacherous, sucking slurry. Private Luc Giguère, 19 years old, of the Le Régiment de la Chaudière, presses his body against the sloping earth. He is soaked to the bone. He has been soaked for a week. He can smell the canal in front of him, a foul, stagnant stench of mud and decay. He cannot see the other side. It is 80 feet away, a chasm of black water, and beyond it, a sheer 15-foot dike. That dike is a fortress. This is Operation Switchback. It is General Simons's brainchild. It is a classic, brutal, two-pronged attack. Giguère and the 3rd Canadian Infantry Division are the anvil. They are being ordered to perform an act of near-insane bravery, a frontal, amphibious assault across a canal, straight into the teeth of the German 64th Infantry Division, fanatics who have nowhere left to run. Giguère is not supposed to win. He is supposed to fix the enemy, to make them believe this is the only attack. Because miles away, at the same moment, the 9th Brigade is secretly boarding landing craft to sail across the mouth of the estuary and land behind the Germans, near the town of Breskens. Giguère and his friends are the bait, and the bait is about to be savaged. "Wasps up!" a voice hisses down the line. The sound is terrifying. A thump hiss, and then a great, roaring gout of liquid fire erupts from Giguère's left. A wasp, a universal carrier equipped with a flamethrower, has crawled to the canal's edge. It hoses the far bank with a 300-foot stream of burning jelly. For a split second, the world is illuminated. Giguère sees the German positions, the concrete pillboxes, the intricate weave of the trenches. The Hitlers saw MG-42s aimed directly at them, and he sees the German soldiers, their faces skeletal in the orange light, bringing their own mortars to bear. Go, go, go! The artillery barrage that has been pounding the far bank for hours reaches a new, screaming crescendo. The earth doesn't just shake, it jumps. Giguère's platoon sergeant kicks him. "Move, putain, move!" They are not in the assault boats. Those are for the first wave, the Royal Winnipeg Rifles, the Regina Rifles. Giguère's job is to follow. He slithers up and over the dike. The scene below him is a nightmare. The first assault, in flimsy storm boats, is being annihilated. The MG-42s have opened up, their tracers a solid, green line of death. Mortar rounds are landing in the water, sending up 40-foot columns of mud and body parts. But the wasps are working. Another stream of fire hits a pillbox. The machine gun stops. Bridge is down. Engineers have done the impossible. Under fire, they have manhandled a kapok bridge across the canal. Giguère doesn't hesitate. He runs, bent double, onto the swaying, narrow pontoon. Men are falling off, hit, vanishing into the black water with a quiet plop. He keeps his eyes on the far bank. He makes it. He dives into the mud on the other side. They have a bridgehead. It is 50 yards deep, and it is costing them a man every second. October 10th, 1944. The Breskins' pocket. 4 days later. Giguère no longer knows what day it is. He no longer knows what it is to be dry. The Breskins' pocket is not land. It is a tactical abstraction. The Germans have blown the dikes. The entire 40-square-mile pocket is a flooded coastal plain. It is a sea of grey, icy water, 3 to 6 feet deep. The only dry land is not dry. It is the narrow, raised tops of the dikes that crisscross the landscape. It is the small islands, or terps, where farmhouses, now turned into concrete bunkers, stand. And Giguère's company is being ordered to take one. It's a farm, the lieutenant says, his voice hollow, his eyes glassy with exhaustion. He's 20 years old and looks 50. It's a farm called Isabella. The Germans are dug in. We have to clear it. He points, across 800 yards of open water. How? A private from New Brunswick asks. We wade. They move at night. There is no other option. To move on a dike top in the day is to be instantly vaporized by a pre-zeroed German 88. Giguère steps off the road into the water. It's so cold, it steals his breath. It's at his chest. His wool battle dress soaks it up, becoming a 100-pound anchor of misery. He holds his Lee Enfield rifle above his head. They wade. For 2 hours. The only sound is the slosh of 40 men, moving through a liquid grave. Halt! The man in front of him, Smitty, stops. I think I... Click. It is the most intimate, most terrifying sound of the war. Not the boom of artillery, just a small, metallic click. Smitty has stepped on a bouncing Betty. An S-mine. Oh no, Smitty whispers. Oh God, no. Giguère knows the drill. He is not allowed to help. He tries to back away. Stay still, Smitty. Stay still. I'm slipping. Luke, the mud. Giguère can see the terror in his friend's eyes. The mine's trigger is a pressure release. The moment he shifts his weight. It's okay, Smitty, it's okay. Smitty shifts. The mud gives way. Whiz-bang. The mine does not explode in the ground. It jumps. It leaps 4 feet into the air and then explodes, right at waist height, spraying 360 ball bearings at the speed of a bullet. Smitty is gone. The 2 men on either side of him are eviscerated. Giguère, 10 feet back, is peppered with shrapnel. A hot, searing pain rips through his shoulder. And then, the night is alive. Parachute flares pop overhead, bathing the flooded polder in a dead, magnesium-white light. Giguère and his 30 remaining men are exposed, standing in chest-deep water. The MG-42s open up from Isabella Farm. They are firing at the sound of the screams. The water around Giguère boils as the bullets hit. Back to the dike, the lieutenant screams. They run. They thrash. They crawl through the water, dragging their wounded, leaving their dead. Giguère makes it, his shoulder a numb, burning weight. He collapses on the dike, gasping as the flares die, plunging the world back into darkness. It took them 4 hours. They lost 12 men. They did not advance a single foot. This is the watery hell for 3 weeks. The soldiers of the 3rd Division cannot dig foxholes. The moment a shovel breaks the earth, the hole fills with water. They live in shallow, waterlogged scrapes, their feet submerged 24 hours a day. Trench foot, the forgotten horror of the Great War, returns with a vengeance. Giguère watches men twice his size weep as they are carried away. Their feet, after 10 days in the water, are no longer feet. They are swollen, purple, gangrenous stumps. The skin sloughs off in the mud. Supplies are an equal nightmare. Jeeps cannot move. Tanks are useless. The only way to get food and ammunition forward is with amphibious buffalo LVT carriers. The men cheer them like gods. The buffaloes swim across the flooded fields, bringing hot tea, boxes of 303 ammunition, and, most importantly, taking the wounded out. But the Germans know this. They have mined the polders. An LVT, loaded with casualties, hits a teller mine. The explosion is a geyser of water and steel. It sinks in 30 seconds. All hands are lost. The Canadians are not fighting an army. They are fighting a landscape. They are fighting the sea. And they are paying for every yard of mud with their best blood. The Royal Highland Regiment, the Black Watch, is mauled in an attack. The North Shore Regiment, heroes of D-Day, are fighting for their lives to hold a tiny bridgehead. The question echoes in the ranks. Why? Why here? Who cares about this god-forsaken mudflat? They don't know about Antwerp. They don't know about the 5 million starving Dutch. They only know about the water, the cold, and the click of the S-mine. Finally, on October 21st, after 15 days of this purgatory, Giguère's platoon, now 11 men, is holding a dike. He sees movement across a polder. He raises his rifle. "Don't shoot," a voice yells. In a Canadian accent, it's a patrol from the 9th Brigade, the men who landed behind the Germans. They, too, have been fighting in their own watery hell for 2 weeks. They have linked up. The pincer has closed. Giguère, his shoulder bandaged, watches them. They are as filthy, as wet, and as exhausted as he was. An officer from the 9th Brigade shakes his lieutenant's hand. "Well, glad that's over. We've got the South Bank." Giguère's heart leaps. It's over. Then the lieutenant, his face black with mud and stubble, turns and points. He points north, across the 3-mile-wide estuary. "Good job, boys," the lieutenant says, his voice devoid of all emotion. The Breskin's pocket is secure. Giguère looks. He can just see the dark mass on the other side. A coastline? Now, the lieutenant says. "We just have to take that." That is Walcheren Island, the main fortress, the cork in the bottle. They have just survived 3 weeks of hell, losing thousands of men to clear the South Bank, and the port is still closed. October 22nd, 1944. A flooded apple orchard, South Beveland Peninsula. Private Giguère and the 3rd Division are given a reprieve. They are, for the most part, broken. The trench foot, the casualties, and the sheer mental exhaustion of the Breskin's pocket have shattered them. The watery hell is over. Now, the land-based hell begins. The 2nd Canadian Infantry Division takes over. Their objective is the South Beveland Peninsula, the long, narrow isthmus of land that is the only land route to the fortress of Walcheren Island. And, like everything in the Scheldt, it is a nightmare. The Germans, predictably, have blown the dikes. The peninsula is a 20-mile-long swamp, except for one thing, the main road and the railway line next to it, which run down the peninsula's spine on a high, elevated embankment. It is the only dry ground for miles. For the Canadians, This road is not a route. It is a death trap. There is no room to maneuver, no room for tanks, no room for flanking. It is a 20-mile-long trench, and the Germans are waiting. Lieutenant Red Donaldson of the Calgary Highlanders stands in the mud of the orchard, his binoculars trained on the next objective, the village of Woensdrecht. It's a small cluster of brick houses, but it sits on high ground, controlling the entrance to the peninsula. "They're not giving this up," he mutters to his sergeant. "They're dug in. They've got 88s. The attack on Woensdrecht is a meat grinder. The Highlanders, the Black Watch, Le Régiment de Maisonneuve, they throw themselves at the position. The Germans, elite paratroopers and stomach battalion troops, men with ulcers and other ailments, deemed unfit for other fronts, but who fight like demons for their homeland, are in the cellars, the attics, and the barns. It is a close, filthy, grenade and bayonet fight. A man's war. Donaldson's platoon finally takes a brick farmhouse. They kick in the door to the cellar. 2 German paratroopers, 17 years old, are waiting. They fight with boot knives and trench shovels until they are shot. Point blank. The Canadians are not just tired, they are becoming hateful. This is not a war of liberation, this is a war of extermination, for a piece of mud no one wants. After a week of this, a week of pushing the Germans back, yard by bloody yard, down the narrow, swampy peninsula, they finally see it. October 31st, 1944, 04 a.m., the eastern end of the Walcheren Causeway. Lieutenant Donaldson is now at the very end of the line. The South Beveland Peninsula has ended. In front of him is the objective. It is a bridge, a causeway. It is 200 yards long, 40 yards wide. It is a perfectly straight, elevated road of asphalt and stone, connecting South Beveland to Walcheren Island. On the other side of that causeway, the Germans are waiting. They have 20mm flak cannons, MG-42s in concrete pillboxes, and mortars pre-zeroed on every single inch of that road. The mud flats on either side of the causeway are too soft for a man to walk on. They are a sucking ooze. There is no way to go around. There is no way to go under. There is only over. Jesus, his sergeant whispers, looking through a night scope. It's a bowling alley, and we're the pins. The order comes down. The Black Watch will go first, at dawn. The men of the Black Watch, already mauled at Woensdrecht, are assembled. Their faces are grey. They know what this is. This is not a tactical problem. This is a blood sacrifice. At 05:00 a.m., the artillery barrage lifts. Go! A company of the Black Watch rises and runs. They sprint, in full kit, onto the causeway. The next sound is the sound of the world ending. Thump, 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 thump. The 20-meter cannons open up, firing explosive shells. Brrr. The MG-42s, firing from both sides of the far end. Whoomp, whoomp, whoomp. The mortars, which don't even need to be aimed, rain down on the center of the road. Men do not get hit. They are erased. They are liquefied. The explosive shells detonate on the hard asphalt, turning the road into a ricochet hell of shrapnel and stone. The first wave is gone in 30 seconds. The second wave goes. They make it 50 yards further, running over the bodies of their friends. They, too, are scythed down. Lieutenant Donaldson and the Calgary Highlanders are in reserve, waiting to follow. They are watching this. They are watching a regiment die, in real time. This is insane, Donaldson says, his hands shaking. This is murder. The attack fails. Utterly, bloodily. The next day, the Calgary Highlanders are ordered to try. They, too, are cut to pieces. The next day, Le Régiment de Maisonneuve. For 3 days, the Canadians throw themselves at the causeway. They gain a few yards, a shattered pillbox, and then are thrown back by a fanatic German counterattack. The causeway is a charnel house, a monument of piled bodies. General Simons sees the reports. He's a hard man, but he is not a fool. This is not working. The cork is still in the bottle. But the Canadians on the causeway are not the only part of the plan. They are the distraction. While Donaldson and his men are bleeding on that strip of asphalt, a far greater, more terrible force has been unleashed back in England. Air Chief Marshal Bomber Harris, the architect of the firebombing of Germany, has been given a new, strange target. Not a city, not a factory. A dike, October 3rd, 1944. Above Westkapelle, Walcheren Island. Squadron leader Richard Dickey. Stubbs of NOS 617 Squadron, the Dam Busters, banks his Lancaster bomber. He is not at 20,000 feet. He is low, dangerously low. He is not carrying a bouncing bomb. He is carrying a tall boy. A 12,000-pound, deep penetration, earthquake bomb. His orders are the strangest of his career. He is to bomb the sea wall of Walcheren Island. He is to drown the German fortress. The RAF has dropped leaflets. "Leave your homes," they told the Dutch civilians. "Go to high ground. We are coming to breach the dikes." Stubbs lines up his run. The flak from the island is intense, a curtain of black puffs. He doesn't care. He's focused on the strip of earth and concrete that holds back the North Sea. Bomb's gone. He pulls up, hard. He watches. The tall boy hits. It does not explode. It penetrates, 30 feet deep into the earth under the dike. And then it detonates. The explosion is not a sound. It is a geologic event. The entire island of Walcheren shudders. A column of mud, concrete, and water is thrown 1,000 feet into the air. And when it clears, Stubbs sees it. A small, dark line, a trickle. The North Sea is coming in. For 3 days, the Lancasters and Mosquitoes return. They bomb the dike at Westkapelle. They bomb the dike at Flushing. They bomb the dike at Veer. They do not just break the fortress. They unmake the island. The North Sea, held back for 800 years, pours into the heart of Walcheren. The Germans' greatest defense, the flooded polders, is now their grave. The hunger winter has been raging in Holland. But on Walcheren Island, an even greater god has been summoned. The god of the sea. The German 70th Division, commanded by General Wilhelm Daser, is now trapped. Their bunkers, their artillery positions, their headquarters in the town of Middelburg are all under 10 feet of churning, icy salt water. They are no longer a fortress. They are survivors, clinging to the high rim of the outer dikes. And the port? The port is still closed. The Canadians are still stuck on the causeway. The German guns on the rim of the island still command the estuary. General Simons has his final, insane, brilliant plan. He has an army stuck on a causeway. He has a flooded, ruined island, and he has a new gap in the seawall, 300 yards wide. He is not going to just attack from the land. He is going to attack from the sea. He is going to launch an amphibious assault with Royal Marine Commandos through the gap into the flooded island. He is going to attack the fortress from the inside. November 1st, 1944, so TM, off the coast of Westkapelle, Walcheren Island. The North Sea is a heaving, grey monster. The wind is a 40-knot gale, throwing spray that freezes on contact. Sub-Lieutenant Richard Tug Wilson, Royal Navy, is clinging to the rail of his landing craft, gun LCG. He is 20 years old, and he is steering a 300-foot floating gun platform directly at the most heavily fortified coastline in the world. He is not alone. Around him is a bizarre, desperate armada. This is Operation Infatuate. There are no battleships, except for one, far out, the grand old lady, HMS Warspite, veteran of Jutland, is turning broadside. Her 15-inch guns are about to speak. Closer in, it's a Spitkit fleet. LCGs, landing craft, flak LCFs, and 28 small, slow, unarmored landing craft. Support LCS, whose only job is to get close and fire smoke rockets. And behind them, the landing craft filled with the green beret men of 4 Commando, 41, 47, and 48 Royal Marine Commandos, and, crucially, the Canadians. The 1st Canadian Army is not just fighting on the causeway, they are here. The 1st Canadian Assault Squadron Royal Engineers are driving the Buffalo LVTs, the amphibious tractors that will spearhead the assault. Their target is not a beach, it is a hole. The 300-yard gap in the dike, created by Bomber Harris's tall boys, Lieutenant Donaldson, still pinned down on the bloody causeway, is the anvil. Tug, Wilson's fleet is the hammer. 8:15 a.m. Open fire. The order crackles over the radio. The sound is not a battle. It is a concussion. Warspite opens up. 8 15-inch shells, the size of small cars, howl inland. A moment later, the German coastal batteries, the 200mm giants in their concrete casemates on the rim of the dike, reply, they do not fire at the Warspite. She is too far. They fire at the close support squadron. They fire at Tug Wilson. Tug Wilson's LCG is a floating bullseye. His job is to draw that fire, to make the German gunners show themselves, and to keep shooting, so that the commandos, in their unarmored LCTs, can get in. A 200mm shell hits the LCG 2 boats down the line. The craft simply vanishes. A flash of orange, a column of black smoke, and it is gone. All hands lost. Steady! Wilson yells at his helmsman. Keep her steady. Target W-15. Fire at will. His own guns open up. A frantic, barking reply. This is a naval gun duel, fought at point-blank range, by boats that have no armor. The smoke-laying craft go in, weaving between the shell splashes. They are hit, one by one. They burn, but they do not stop. They are creating a screen. So 9:45 a.m. The West Capella breach. Through the smoke, the first wave of Buffalo LVTs, driven by the Canadians, hits the beach, or what passes for a beach. They are not landing on sand. They are landing on the shoulders of the breach, on the shattered concrete, the twisted rebar, and the rubble of the dike itself. The LVTs, true amphibians, crawl out of the surf, over the ruins, and into the flooded island. The Royal Marines are right behind them. They leap into the waist-deep, icy water. They are not fighting on a beach. They are fighting in a gap. The Germans are firing down at them from pillboxes on either side of the hole. It is a medieval battle. It is a fortress assault. The Marines use scaling ladders to climb the inner face of the dike. They are using flamethrowers to clear the bunkers from above. A sergeant of Commando, his face black, finds a German pillbox. He doesn't wait for the Piat. He runs, carrying 2 10-pound satchel charges. He jams them into the firing slit and lights the fuse. The explosion throws him 20 feet, but the gun is silent. While this is happening, a second amphibious assault is landing, miles to the south. At the city of Flushing, Vlissingen, this force, including men of the 52nd Lowland Division, has crossed the 3 miles of estuary from the Breskens pocket that Private Giguère and his regiment had cleared. They are fighting a different war, street to street, in a flooded city. They are paddling assault boats down boulevards, clearing German snipers from submerged attics. The fortress of Walcheren is now being attacked from the land, the causeway, from the sea, West Capelle, and from the south, Flushing, November 2nd, 1944, 10 a.m., the Walcheren Causeway. Lieutenant Red Donaldson has been listening to the battle for 24 hours. He has heard the rolling thunder of the naval guns, the crump of the fighting inside the island. He and his men have been ordered to hold. Just hold. Then a new order. Advance. Advance? His sergeant scoffs. To where? The meat grinder. They're not shooting, a private says, his voice full of wonder. Donaldson raises his binoculars. He scans the German pillboxes at the far end of the causeway. They are silent. He looks beyond them, and he sees smoke. He sees a Buffalo LVT, a Canadian-driven amphibian, rumbling behind the German lines. The commandos, having breached at West Capelle, have fought their way down the rim of the dike. They have linked up with the troops in Flushing, and now they are attacking the German defenders of the causeway from the rear. The Germans are trapped. Right, Donaldson says, a slow, grim smile spreading. They've had their fun. He stands up. For the first time in a week, he's standing on the causeway in daylight. Calgary Highlanders, on your feet. We're moving. They walk. They don't run. They walk. Rifles at the ready. Past the craters, past the wreckage of their previous attacks, past the bodies of the Black Watch. They walk across the bowling alley. They take the first pillbox. The Germans inside are not fanatics. They are terrified. They have their hands in the air, screaming "Kamerad." They know they are surrounded. The cork is not just in the bottle. It has been shattered. November 8th, 1940s. Middelburg, Walcheren Island. The fighting is over. The watery hell has ended. General Wilhelm Daser, commander of the German 70th Division, formally surrenders. He does not surrender in his concrete headquarters. He surrenders in a bizarre, almost comical scene from the second-story window of his flooded command post to the commander of a British Buffalo LVT that has swum into the town square to accept. The battle for the Scheldt is over. The cost is staggering. The 1st Canadian Army has suffered 12,873 casualties, killed, wounded, and missing. More than 6,300 of them are Canadians. Private Luc Giguère, his shoulder healing in a hospital in Bruges. Here's the news. He, like all the men, asks the same question. Was it worth it? He doesn't know about the port. He doesn't know about the hunger winter. He only knows that his friend Smitty is gone and that his feet are finally dry. But the work is not done. The battle is over. The job is not. November 10th, 1944. The Scheldt estuary. The battle is won. The estuary is not open. The 50-mile channel, now free of German guns, is a new kind of hell. It is the most densely mined body of water in the world. Rear Admiral H.T. Bailey Groman, in charge of opening the port, is facing an impossible deadline. He has a fleet of 100 minesweepers, and they are now in their own kind of war. They are not just clearing standard naval mines. The Germans, in a final act of spite, have dropped thousands of new, sophisticated pressure mines, designed to be triggered by the change in water pressure from a large ship passing over them. They are virtually unsweepable. The only way to clear them is to trigger them. For the next 3 weeks, the Royal Navy plays a terrifying game. They sail empty, sacrificial ships up the channel, hoping to detonate the mines. They lose ship after ship. But the work is the minesweepers. Small, wooden-hulled flotillas, manned by naval reservists. They chug up and down the channel, sweeping for the moored mines. Their crews watching the water for the black, horned spheres. Mine on the port bow. A sailor with a Lee Enfield rifle steps to the rail, aims, and shoots at the mine, trying to detonate it before it hits the hole. It is slow. It is agonizing. It is nerve-shredding. And all the while, The clock is ticking. November 15th, 1944. Amsterdam. Occupied Holland. The hunger winter has begun. 5 million people are trapped. The German blockade is total. The canals, their last arteries of transport, are frozen solid. There is no gas. There is no electricity. A family in Amsterdam huddles in their freezing apartment. The father is burning the floorboards of the room upstairs to create a tiny, smoky fire. The daily ration, when it's available, is 2 slices of bread, made mostly of sawdust, and a single potato. Children are beginning to die. First, the old and the sick. Now, the young. They are boiling tulip bulbs, a desperate, acrid-tasting source of starch, just to feel something in their stomachs. The Allied armies, stalled at the Rhine, cannot reach them. The only hope is a rumor, a whisper, that the port of Antwerp has been captured, that food is coming, but the port remains closed. The minesweepers are still, painstakingly, clearing the Scheldt. Every day a minesweeper is blown up in the estuary is another day of starvation in Amsterdam. November 26th, 1944. Antwerp docks. The city is holding its breath. The weather is grim. A cold, sleeting rain. At 14:00 p.m., a lookout spots it. A smudge of smoke on the horizon. It's a ship. She is not a warship. She is a Canadian-built Fort-class merchant vessel. Her name, by a quirk of fate, is the SS Cataraqui. She has sailed from Normandy, loaded with 10,000 tons of ammunition, food, and medical supplies. She is the first. The test. She steams slowly up the 50-mile channel, following the exact, narrow path cleared by the minesweepers. Every man on her deck is watching the water. At 14:30 p.m. she passes Flushing. At 15:00 p.m. she passes the ruins of the Breskens Pocket. At 16:00 p.m. she enters the locks of Antwerp. The port, the prize, the miracle is open. The city of Antwerp explodes in a joy that is almost violent. The Witte Brigade, the resistance fighters who saved the docks, are weeping in the streets. Church bells, silent for 4 years, begin to ring. Lieutenant General Guy Simons, the hard, unloved architect of the battle, stands on the dock, his face a mask. He watches the Cataraqui tie up. He is not watching a ship. He is watching his victory. He is watching the 6,300 dead Canadians, the 12,000 casualties, finally be justified. December 1944, March 1945. The Cataraqui is not a test. It is the breach in the dam. The day after her, 10 ships arrive. The week after, 50. By January, Antwerp is the single busiest, most important port on Earth. Over 20,000 tons of supplies are being unloaded every single day. The Red Ball Express is obsolete. The Allied armies are no longer running on fumes. They are being given a tidal wave of steel, fuel, and food. General Patton's Third Army, stalled in France, is refueled and rearmed. The final push to the Rhine, the advance into Germany, is now possible. The war, stalled for months, lurches forward again, its engine fed by the docks of Antwerp. But the port is not just feeding the war. It is feeding the people in Holland. The Allies, now with a port, can finally act. They begin Operation Manna, RAF Lancasters. The same planes that breached the dikes now fly a different mission. They fly low over the starving cities, not with 12,000-pound bombs, but with 12,000-pound cargoes. They drop sacks of flour, tins of milk, and crates of spam to the skeletal. Weeping crowds in the streets. The hunger winter is broken. The food, all of it shipped through Antwerp, has arrived. 5 million people are pulled back from the brink of annihilation. Private Luc Giguère survived. He was one of the lucky ones. He was declared unfit for further combat duty due to his shoulder wound and the severe, lasting damage of trench foot. He was sent home to Quebec in early 1945. He never spoke of the Scheldt. He never spoke of Smitty. He never spoke of the smell of the canal or the feeling of wading into that icy, black water. Like most of Canada, he forgot. There were no parades for the Battle of the Scheldt. It was not a glamorous victory. It was not D-Day. It was not the liberation of Paris. It was a slow, filthy, grinding, necessary job. It was a battle fought in mud and water by men who were wet for 30 days. It was a garbage job. It was a battle that cost 6,000 of Canada's best for a strip of mud. It was a battle that was forgotten by the headlines, overshadowed by the glamour of airborne drops and tank charges. But it was the battle that mattered. It was the battle that saved 5 million people from starvation. It was the battle that broke the logistical paralysis of the Allies. It was the battle that, without question, shortened the war in Europe. And it was all done by an army that was asked to do the impossible, in a place that no one wanted, for a prize they would never see.